Like me, maybe you have noticed that a lot of individuals today are going through very economic difficulties. The economy is very difficult in most places around the world. People struggle more now to make ends meet than before. And we see that quite, in Finland also, where, like immigrants used to work very hard, and sometimes you find that most of them would hold one or more jobs just to kind of support themselves here and also help those back home. But lately, it's been very difficult, not only in places like Africa, Nigeria, which is going through very tough economic situations now, but it's affecting people in the West also. I would give you an example. When I came to Finland newly, it was very easy to kind of have a 9 to 5, have a side job, and be able to pay your bills, pay your expenses here, and still have something to save. Right now, that is very difficult to accomplish. So that means for anyone planning to migrate to Europe, to the US, anywhere in the West, the expectations need to be examined well. And this is why I say to a lot of people, before you start planning to migrate somewhere, think about it. What's the reason why you are migrating? Is it for study? Is it for economic reasons? Uh, what are the reasons? Because it really matters to look at it critically. Why? I just wrote an article about this. For example, why anti-racism initiatives are not working for Finland, because we find that a lot of people are facing racism. And you think about it, when economic difficulties, comes, you find that, the rate of racial incidents, they increase because everyone now, including citizens of for Finland, the locals, are also feeling very tough, in every part of the world. They're feeling the situation really hard. So this is where we need to really consider, what are my reasons for coming, and would my expectations be met? Because realistically, it's not that easy like it was before. And this is why my focus is always to look back at what we can do. And we can see this even in people's style of communication. If you've noticed, you would see that when we communicate with people, or when people come up to you, you find that they are actually in this tight mood where their communication pattern is very aggressive. They come out brash. They ask questions as if they are angry. And this is where I teach my workshops how to handle such communications. And I would go on to share tips around this. But first, the idea is, when we think of migration, we need to think about realistically what is on ground. Further examples is that, there are cuts in funding that supports integration programs. These are programs that help immigrants when they arrive to new country, so that they can be able to settle in, to have this feeling of belonging. Because of the economic pressure, the government is looking at, okay, what programs need to be supported and what programs need to go. And this is, really affecting people on the ground, because that means those programs that are towards, immigrants, helping them to settle well into the society, are affected. These programs are not there. And when those programs are affected, that means when you come to a new country, you find that it's difficult to get integrated, unlike before, where you would help, you get, access to events that help you understand the language. They give you basic information on how to start life in a new country. Some of these programs are going. That means when you come to a new country, you might just rely on the help of people that you know, or people that you start making friends with. And this can also be very challenging, because everyone right now, even those who have been here for a very long time, are facing very challenging times. And it's understandable because people find it hard to make ends meet. The cost of things are going up, rents are going up. So it's coming off and it's cutting at everyone. Back to the communication. When we think how people communicate business, how can we help, especially when such communications are happening, that we lower the tone? It might be essential to look at someone you know who you've noticed that their communication pattern has changed from before to draw it to their attention. It might go like, hey, I noticed that lately your communication style has been different from what I know. Is everything okay? When we do this, we draw attention to what has changed because sometimes the person might actually not know that there's a change in their communication style. So, drawing attention to the fact that, hey, I know you used to communicate like this before. Right now, this is the pattern I get. Probably you're throwing it as a ball to me instead of passing it on. That would draw the attention of the person and would see ways to make changes if there is. And this is something that I want everyone to look at, to spot at. And this would give a very good feedback to people that are close to us who've noticed that due to the economic pressures, due to the difficulties of the times, that they are communicating in a way that does not connect to the other, because communication is usually a two-way street where we are receiving, listening, and at the same time giving feedback. And when we are not hearing or receiving it rightly, the feedback we are also giving would not go right. And this is where I say, think about how we communicate and factor in things that might be worrying people, things that they don't understand or they don't know, and draw their attention to it. I would be sharing more tips around this communication style, especially in conflict situations where we often have to have very difficult conversations with people. How do we approach that? How do we help people understand that our communication or their communication has changed, and how can we make it better? One of the tips is what I've just given, drawing attention to their communication style, what has changed, and what is the current situation actually helps. And next time we'll be talking about dealing with this communication in conflict situation, especially when you are talking to someone different from you or someone from a different background. How do you manage that dynamics? How do you communicate in such situations? Until next time, stay strong.